Leave. Just paying bills doesn't make you family. My dad lost it on Thanksgiving. My mom leaned in and said, "You're just bitter about your brother." I grinned. Then he can cover the $9,600. That night, I turned everything off. By morning, police, crying, total chaos. I never imagined the people I sacrificed everything for would be the ones to break me, but Thanksgiving this year wasn't just a holiday, it was a brutal awakening. A moment when I finally snapped after years of being the family ATM with absolutely no respect in return. Growing up, my dad, Harold, had this knack for making me feel like I was never quite enough. "Second place is just the first loser," he'd say, barely glancing at my trophies. My mom, Linda, was different. Her indifference cut even deeper than his harsh words. She'd just mumble, "That's nice, dear," while flipping through magazines featuring my younger brother, Kevin. He was their golden child, the star athlete whose mediocre grades were focusing on what really matters, while my straight A's were trying too hard. When I got into Harvard, all I got was a dismissive nod and a "well, you always did like books." It felt like a constant battle for validation, a battle I always lost. So I learned to find it elsewhere, in my studies, in my achievements, in the quiet satisfaction of building a life for myself. College was my escape, and after graduating with honors, which no one from my family even attended because Kevin had a football game, I landed a job at a top financial firm in Boston. For 5 years, I kept my family at a polite distance. Then, 3 years ago, everything changed. Dad called, his voice uncharacteristically small. He'd been laid off after 20 years. My parents were about to lose the house I grew up in. I'd just gotten a big promotion, so without a second thought, I moved back home, renting a small place nearby. I started paying their $1,600 mortgage directly, plus another $800 for utilities, groceries, and car insurance. Just until Dad finds something new, Mom had tearfully said. That was 3 years and $28,800 ago. And the appreciation? Non-existent. Dad still criticized my financial decisions, and Mom still compared me to Kevin, who was off in Chicago in sales, sending birthday cards, but absolutely no money. Yet, he remained the perfect son in their eyes. This year, I decided to host Thanksgiving at my new, bigger apartment. I spent weeks planning the perfect meal, Dad's favorite ham, Mom's sweet potato casserole, even tracking down Kevin's preferred craft beer. I dropped $347 on groceries, hoping this year would be different. But as I caught my reflection in the rearview mirror, another voice whispered, "When have they ever?" Thanksgiving morning, I was up at 5 a.m., the smell of butter and spices already filling the air. The dining table was set with my best dishes, crystal gleaming under my grandmother's chandelier. Memories of past Thanksgivings floated through my mind, Dad complaining about dry turkey, Mom fretting about my single status, their endless chatter about Kevin's promotions while barely acknowledging my own career milestones. My best friend, Amber, texted, "Survival plan in place? Boundaries." I smiled, grateful for her. I told her some disasters are better faced alone. Mom arrived first, carrying a store-bought pie despite my protests that dessert was covered. "The table looks nice," she said, "but wouldn't it be better with the blue plates? These white ones are so corporate." I bit back my retort. Then Kevin showed up with his new girlfriend, Brittany, who, bless her heart, at least brought flowers. "Your place is gorgeous," she said genuinely, while Mom cooed at Kevin about how handsome he looked. Dad was last, 15 minutes late, carrying a 6-pack of cheap beer even though I'd stocked craft beers specifically for them. "Place is hard to find," he grumbled. "You should have better directions." Then I heard him in the living room. "Rachel's going all fancy on us this year. Probably trying to show off with all that Boston money." My knuckles went white. $347 in groceries, $1,600 for their mortgage, $800 in bills, all for them. This was my thanks? At 1 p.m., I announced dinner was ready. The table looked like a magazine spread, but Dad immediately frowned. "Where's the stuffing?" I pointed to the dish. "It's cornbread with sausage and apples." He poked it suspiciously. "Doesn't look like your mother's." And so it began. Then, Dad launched into grace. "Lord, we thank you for this food and for bringing our family together today. We're especially grateful for Kevin making the trip. We thank you for his continued success. Amen." Not a single word about the meal I'd prepared, the home I provided, or the financial support that kept their roof over their heads. I caught Brittany's eye, and she gave me a look that said, "I see it." "The turkey looks great, Rachel," Brittany offered. "Yes, not bad," Mom conceded, as if praising a child's finger painting. "Did you brine it?" Brittany asked. "Yes, overnight," I said, warming to her genuine interest. "Fancy," Dad muttered, piling ham onto his plate. The next 20 minutes were a blur of football talk and Mom's questions about Brittany's job. "Rachel, how's work?" Brittany asked, trying to include me. Before I could answer, Mom jumped in. "Oh, she's still at that financial place. Always working such long hours." Nothing like your job, Kevin, where you get to meet all those interesting sports people. Actually, I said, setting down my fork, I was promoted to senior investment strategist last month. I'm now managing a portfolio worth over $300 million. That sounds impressive, Brittany said. Dad snorted. Numbers on a computer screen. Not like real work. My work is very real, Dad, I said, heat rising in my cheeks. Those numbers represent people's retirements, college funds for their kids, security for their families. And good money for you, I bet, he shot back. Which is why I don't understand why you're always complaining about helping your family out a little. The room went silent. Even Kevin looked uncomfortable. When have I ever complained about helping out? I asked quietly. Your mother told me you mentioned the mortgage was due next week. As if we didn't know. I turned to Mom, who suddenly found intense fascination with rearranging the food on her plate. I only mentioned it because I needed to transfer the money from my investment account. It takes 2 business days, and with the holiday weekend, there you go again. Dad interrupted. Always bringing up money. We get it, Rachel. You're successful. You make good money. You help us out. Do you want a medal? Harold, Mom murmured, but there was no real objection in her voice. No, Linda, I'm tired of walking on eggshells. Rachel holds this money over our heads like she's some kind of savior. My hands began to shake. 3 years. $28,800. And not once, had I used it to guilt them. I have never held anything over your heads, I said, my voice trembling slightly. I help because you're my family and you needed it, and we appreciate it, Mom said quickly. Don't we, Harold? Dad stabbed a piece of ham. What I'd appreciate is a daughter who cares about more than her bank account. Family is about loyalty, not dollar signs. Loyalty. The word tasted bitter. I moved back here 3 years ago to help you. I've paid your mortgage, your utilities, your car insurance. Here we go again with the money talk. Dad's voice rose. This is exactly what I mean. You think because you write some checks, you're entitled to special treatment. Special treatment? I echoed in disbelief. When have I ever received special treatment in this family? Kevin shifted uncomfortably. Maybe we should talk about something else. No, I said firmly. I want to know what Dad means by special treatment. Do you mean acknowledgement? Basic gratitude? Because I haven't seen much of either. You want gratitude? Dad's face flushed red. Fine. Thank you, Rachel, for doing what any decent daughter would do for her parents. There. Happy now. Something snapped inside me. A decent daughter? What about a decent father? One who doesn't constantly criticize and diminish his child's achievements? One who shows an ounce of appreciation when that child sacrifices her own financial security to save his house? That's enough. Dad slammed his hand on the table, making the plates jump. I won't be spoken to like this in, well, I would say my house, but I guess you'd remind me it's technically your house, wouldn't you? It's my apartment that I pay for, yes, I said quietly. Just like I pay for your house. Dad stood up so abruptly his chair tipped backward. Get out, he shouted. Paying bills doesn't make you family. Get out. The absurdity of being told to get out of my own home might have been funny if it weren't so painful. Brittany looked horrified. Kevin stared at his plate. Mom reached for Dad's arm. Harold, please. It's Thanksgiving. He shook her off. I won't sit here and be disrespected by my own daughter. Disrespected. I laughed, a hollow sound. That's rich coming from you. Mom leaned toward me, her voice a harsh whisper. You're just jealous of your brother. You always have been. He knows how to be part of this family without turning everything into a transaction. Her words hit me like a physical blow. After everything I had done, everything I had sacrificed, this was what she truly believed. I stood slowly, a strange calm settling over me. You're right, Mom. Kevin does know how to be part of this family. He calls on holidays, sends birthday cards, and contributes absolutely nothing to keeping you in your home. I turned to my brother. No offense, Kevin. He had the grace to look ashamed. I smiled, a calculated expression that felt foreign on my face. So, you know what? You're absolutely right. Let Kevin be the perfect child. Let him take over the mortgage payments and the utilities and everything else. That's $9,600 a year that I'll be keeping from now on. Dad's face paled slightly. Now, Rachel, there's no need to be dramatic. I'm not being dramatic, Dad. I'm being transactional. Remember? And this transaction is officially terminated. I walked to the door and held it open. Dinner's over. Please leave. Rachel, Mom began, but I cut her off. Now, all of you. One by one, they filed out. Dad fuming, Mom tearful, Kevin avoiding my eyes. Only Brittany paused at the door. I'm so sorry, she whispered. For what it's worth, I think you deserved better. After they left, I closed the door, turned the lock, and leaned against it. The table was still laden with food, glasses half full, napkins abandoned. $347 in groceries. $28,800 in support. And now, freedom at a price I was finally willing to pay. I grabbed my car keys and drove aimlessly for 2 hours, past every landmark that reminded me of their neglect. The high school where I was valedictorian with minimal applause. The park where Dad taught Kevin football but never came to my debate competitions. My phone rang. It was Amber. "Rachel, what's wrong? Did something happen at dinner?" Her concern cracked my composure, and I pulled into an empty parking lot, telling her everything. "Oh, alright," Amber sighed when I finished. "I'm so sorry, but honestly, this has been coming for years. You've been their ATM with no recognition, no appreciation, and definitely no respect. They've been financially and emotionally abusing you, and you've been letting them." "That's not," I started to protest, then stopped. "Wasn't it? Remember when we talked about enabling toxic dynamics?" Amber continued gently. "You've been enabling them to treat you badly by continuing to fund their lifestyle while accepting their disrespect." A tear slid down my cheek. "So this is my fault?" "God, no. Their behavior is 100% on them. But continuing to pay their bills while they treat you like garbage? That's a choice you've been making, and you can unmake it." The clarity of her words hit me like a thunderbolt. For 3 years, I'd told myself I was doing the right thing, the responsible thing, the loving thing. But what kind of love demanded everything and gave nothing in return? "You're right," I said, wiping away tears. "This ends tonight." "What are you going to do?" Exactly what I told them. "I'm cutting them off completely." "Are you sure?" "That's a big step." I started the car. I've never been more sure of anything. Driving back to my apartment, I felt a curious mixture of grief and determination. The family I had tried so hard to please, to support, to love despite everything, that family might be lost to me now. But perhaps it had never really existed, except in my desperate hopes. Back home, I cleaned up the dining room, methodically wrapping leftovers, washing dishes, restoring order to the physical space, while my mind mapped out the financial extrication plan. Once the kitchen was spotless, I sat down at my desk and opened my laptop. First, I canceled all automatic payments to the mortgage company, utility companies, and insurance providers. Each click felt like breaking a chain that had bound me for too long. Next, I drafted an email to Michael Stevens, my family lawyer, formally documenting my decision to cease all financial support. After sending it, I texted my parents' landlord, then logged into the utility company websites to remove my name. By midnight, I had dismantled the entire financial structure I had built to support my parents. Nearly $2,400 monthly would now remain in my accounts. The weight of that responsibility lifted, but in its place settled a heavy sadness. Despite everything, they were still my parents. I booked a hotel room for the night. As I packed, my phone exploded with notifications, furious texts from Dad, guilt-tripping voicemails from Mom. Nothing from Kevin yet. I silenced my phone, grabbed my bag, and took one last look around my apartment, the place that should have been my sanctuary, but had become another battlefield. Tonight, I was retreating, but this wasn't surrender. This was strategic withdrawal to protect what mattered most, my self-respect. In the hotel room, I took a long shower, letting the hot water wash away the stress. Wrapped in a plush robe, I sat by the window overlooking the town where I'd grown up. Tomorrow would bring consequences, confrontations, perhaps even chaos. But tonight, I had taken the first step toward freedom. My phone lit up with a text from Amber. "You okay?" "I will be," I replied. And for the first time in years, I actually believed it. I woke up the next morning to 37 missed calls, 22 voicemails, and 64 text messages, not just from my parents and Kevin, but from aunts, uncles, and family friends. Word had spread. The voicemails from Dad escalated from controlled anger to panic. Mom's were predictably manipulative. I deleted them all without responding and ordered room service breakfast. While waiting, I checked my email. Michael Stevens had replied, confirming my legal position. His professional confirmation strengthened my resolve. I had done nothing wrong. At work, our receptionist called. "Rachel, there are 2 people in the lobby insisting on seeing you. They say they're your parents." My stomach dropped. "Please tell them I'm in meetings all morning and can't be disturbed. If they don't leave voluntarily, please call security." 20 minutes later, my boss, Jennifer, came in. Security just escorted 2 people from the building who claimed to be your parents. They were causing quite a scene. I explained the situation. Jennifer, without judgment, offered time off and instructed security not to allow them into the building again. Her support brought unexpected tears to my eyes. By lunchtime, Kevin finally texted. "Mom and Dad are freaking out. They say you cut them off completely. Is that true?" "Yes," I responded. "I'm done being the family ATM while being treated like I don't matter." "But what about their mortgage, the utilities? What about them?" "Kevin, I've paid them for 3 years. Maybe it's your turn. You know I can't afford that. I'm barely making enough to cover my own expenses. Then I guess they'll need to figure something out. Sell the house. Downsize. Get better jobs, the options adults normally consider when they can't pay their bills." "That's cold, alright. Is it funny?" No one thought it was cold when I was sacrificing my financial future to support them while getting nothing but criticism in return. Kevin didn't respond for several minutes. When he did, his message surprised me. They never told me you were paying the mortgage. They said you were helping out a little with utilities. I had no idea it was everything. A bitter laugh escaped me. Of course, they had minimized my contribution. That afternoon, the mortgage company called, confirming my withdrawal. By evening, the situation had escalated. Aunt Susan, my mom's sister, sent a blistering text. "Rachel, I can't believe you would do this to your own parents. They gave you everything growing up. And this is how you repay them, by throwing them out on the street? Your mother is in tears. Your father is talking about having to sell the house. Is that what you want, to destroy your family over money?" I didn't bother responding. Driving home, I spotted Dad's old blue Ford parked in front of my apartment. They were trying to ambush me now. I circled the block until the car was gone. Just as I finally parked, my phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello? Rachel, it's Brittany." "Brittany? Is everything okay?" "Not really. I'm calling because, well, I think you should know what's happening. Your parents showed up at your apartment earlier. When you didn't come home, your dad tried to use his key." "His key? He doesn't have a key to my apartment." "That's what the neighbor said when he came out and asked what they were doing. Your dad claimed he was your father and had a right to enter." The neighbor called the police. My blood ran cold. "The police?" "Yes, they came and spoke with your parents. No one was arrested, but they were told they couldn't enter your property without permission. Your dad he wasn't taking it well when they left." "Thank you for telling me." "There's more," Brittany said, her voice dropping. "Kevin and I had a huge fight about all this. He kept saying you were being selfish, and I told him he was being blind. That from what I saw yesterday and what he's told me about growing up, you've been treated unfairly for years." He didn't want to hear it. "I'm sorry," I said, genuinely meaning it. "I never meant to cause problems between you two." "You didn't." This revealed problems that were already there. She paused. "Anyway, I thought you should know about the police and that not everyone thinks you're wrong. What you did took courage." After thanking her again, I called the police non-emergency line to file a report. That night, I slept fitfully, jumping at every sound. By morning, texts from various family members had continued to pour in. My cousin Melissa, always the family gossip, sent the most revealing message. "OMG, the whole family is talking about your parents getting police called on them at your apartment. Your mom told everyone you're having some kind of breakdown and they were just checking on you. What is actually happening?" I decided to reply with simple facts. I stopped paying their bills after years of financial and emotional abuse. They tried to enter my apartment without permission when I wasn't home. A neighbor called the police. "I'm not having a breakdown, I'm finally standing up for myself." Melissa's response was immediate. "Whoa, that's not what they're telling everyone." "I'm sure it's not," I wrote back, "but it's the truth." As the day progressed, the utilities at my parents' house began shutting off, one by one. I learned this through a series of increasingly frantic messages from Mom. "The internet just went out. Now the electricity is gone. In November, it's freezing in here. The water company says service will be disconnected tomorrow if payment isn't received." I didn't respond to any of them. This was exactly what I had warned would happen. 1 week after Thanksgiving, I sat in Dr. Sarah Collins's office. I had never been to therapy before, but after 7 days of emotional warfare, I needed professional guidance. "So, Dr. Collins said, you made a significant change in a long-established family dynamic. That's bound to create ripple effects. How are you feeling about your decision now?" "Guilty sometimes," I said, relieved other times, sad almost always. She nodded. "All normal reactions. You've disrupted a dysfunctional system that, while harmful to you, was at least familiar and predictable. Change, even positive change, often brings grief. But should I have done it differently? Less abruptly? Given them warning? Would warning have changed the fundamental dynamics at play?" she asked. "No," I admitted. "They would have tried to guilt or manipulate me into changing my mind, or made promises they wouldn't keep. Then perhaps the abruptness was necessary. Sometimes a clean break is kinder than a prolonged separation." We continued talking, exploring the patterns, the role I had played, and strategies for setting and enforcing boundaries. By the end of the session, I felt more grounded, more certain that I had made the right choice, however painful. "Remember, Rachel," Dr. Collins said as I was leaving, "reconciliation may be possible someday, but it requires change on both sides, not just yours. Don't accept responsibility for healing a relationship that others aren't willing to examine honestly." Outside, I found an unexpected message from Kevin. "Can we meet for coffee? Just us. No parents, no drama." We met at a cafe downtown, neutral territory. "Thanks for coming," he said. "You look terrible," I replied, not unkindly. He attempted a smile. "Yeah, well, it's been a rough week for everyone." Kevin stared into his coffee. "I broke up with Brittany." "I'm sorry to hear that." "Don't be. She was right about a lot of things." He looked up at me. including how unfairly you've been treated. After everything blew up, I started thinking about growing up. Really thinking, not just the highlight reel mom and dad always focus on. And I realized you got a raw deal, RA. They were always harder on you, always expected more, always gave less. I benefited from that. And I never said anything. No, you didn't, I said, unwilling to make this easier for him. I should have. I'm sorry. He took a deep breath. But that's not why I wanted to meet. I wanted to tell you that I've taken over the utility payments, not the mortgage yet. I really can't swing that on my salary, but I'm covering electric, water, internet. And I told them they need to figure out the mortgage themselves. I blinked in surprise. You did? Yeah. They didn't take it well. Dad said I was choosing you over family. He gave a bitter laugh. The irony didn't seem to register with him. I never expected you to pick up the bills, Kevin. I know, but it's the right thing to do. I'm their son too. And I've been letting you carry everything. He hesitated. There's something else you should know. The house is going into foreclosure. They're 3 months behind on the mortgage already. What? But I've been paying it. Kevin looked uncomfortable. Apparently, they've been taking cash advances on credit cards for other expenses. They're pretty deep in debt beyond just the mortgage. The revelation hit me like a physical blow. All those years of sacrifice, of putting my own financial future on hold to keep them afloat, and they had been digging themselves deeper into debt the entire time. They've been telling everyone in the family that you abandoned them without warning, Kevin continued. But I set Uncle Robert straight last night. He was pretty shocked to learn you'd been paying their mortgage for 3 years. Is that why he called me this morning? Kevin nodded. Probably. He and Aunt Patricia are talking about letting Mom and Dad stay with them until they figure something out. We talked for another hour, comparing notes on our childhood, acknowledging painful truths we'd both avoided for years. It wasn't complete reconciliation. Too much had happened for that. But it was a start, a recognition that the family narrative had been distorted for too long. Later that afternoon, an unexpected text from Brittany. Kevin told me you two talked. I'm glad. For what it's worth, ending things with him was hard but necessary. He's got some growing up to do. So do your parents. But you're already there. Stay strong. The support from unexpected quarters continued. Jennifer, my boss, called me into her office. Rachel, I've been thinking about your situation. The company has an emergency housing assistance program for employees facing unstable living conditions. Given the circumstances with your family, I believe you qualify. It would cover temporary relocation if you feel unsafe in your current apartment. That's incredibly generous, I said, touched. But I think I'm okay for now. The police have been patrolling regularly, and my parents seem to have backed off. The offer stands if things change. And Rachel, the leadership team has noticed your work this past year. Despite everything going on in your personal life, your portfolio performance has been exceptional. That kind of resilience and focus doesn't go unrecognized here. Her words meant more than she could know, professional recognition based solely on merit, not tempered by comparison to a golden child or diminished by arbitrary standards I could never meet. Not everyone was so supportive, of course. 3 days later, I ran into my mother at the grocery store. Rachel, she said, blocking my path in the produce section. Her appearance shocked me. She looked years older. Mom, I acknowledged, keeping my voice neutral. Excuse me, please. That's it? That's all you have to say to me after what you've done to our family. Other shoppers began to stare. I lowered my voice. This isn't the place, Mom. Where's the place then? You won't answer our calls. You've turned your brother against us. You've turned family friends against us. I've simply told the truth, Mom. If that turns people against you, maybe consider why. Her face contorted. The truth? You want truth? The truth is you've always been selfish. Always thought you were better than us with your fancy degree and your big job. We gave you everything growing up. No, you didn't. I interrupted, finally reaching my limit. You gave Kevin everything. You gave me scraps of attention when it was convenient. You took my college fund for his car. You forgot my high school graduation because he had a baseball game. You see, she cried, loud enough that a store employee began walking toward us. Always keeping score. Always the victim. Ma'am, the employee said cautiously, is everything okay? No, my mother's bad. My daughter is publicly humiliating me, just like she's been trying to destroy our family. The employee looked uncomfortably between us. I'm going to have to ask you both to take this outside. You're disturbing other customers. I was just leaving, I said, abandoning my half-filled cart. As I walked away, my mother called after me. This isn't over, Rachel. Families don't just end because one person decides to walk away. Her words followed me to the parking lot, where I sat in my car, hands shaking on the steering wheel. She was right about one thing. This wasn't over. The confrontation had been recorded on someone's phone, and by evening, the video was circulating among local social media groups. Financial analyst publicly berated by mother in Thompson's grocery, one post read. Colleagues sent concerned messages. Friends I hadn't spoken to in years suddenly reached out. The boundary between my professional reputation and personal life, a line I had always carefully maintained, was blurring dangerously. That weekend, I attended my first holiday party of the season at Amber's apartment, surrounded by friends who knew me, valued me, and expected nothing from me except my company. As we decorated gingerbread houses and drank mulled wine, I felt a glimmer of what holidays could be without the weight of familial obligation and disappointment. To chosen family, Amber toasted, raising her glass. The people who love us because they want to, not because they have to. To chosen family, we echoed. And in that moment, surrounded by genuine warmth and acceptance, I understood that I hadn't lost a family. I had found one worthy of the name. 3 months after the Thanksgiving disaster, winter was reluctantly giving way to early spring. Tiny buds appeared on the trees lining my street, promising renewal after months of dormancy. It felt appropriate for my own life, which was also showing tentative signs of new growth. My weekly sessions with Dr. Collins had become an anchor, helping me process the complex grief of family estrangement. Grief isn't just about death, she explained. It's about loss. You've lost the family you hoped for, the relationships you worked to maintain, and the fantasy that things might somehow improve if you just tried hard enough. That deserves to be mourned. So I mourned for the supportive parents I had never had, for the brother who had been set against me, for the years spent seeking approval that was always just out of reach. And gradually, the mourning gave way to acceptance, and acceptance to a tentative sense of peace. The practical consequences of my decision had unfolded as expected. My parents' house was now deep in foreclosure proceedings. Kevin had maintained the utility payments, true to his word, but the mortgage was far beyond what either of us had realized. Years of hidden debt had created a financial hole too deep to escape. Uncle Robert and Aunt Patricia had offered my parents temporary housing in their guest room. Dad refuses to look for anything beyond part-time work, Kevin told me during one of our now regular coffee meetings. Says at his age he shouldn't have to start over. Uncle Robert disagrees. And Mom? I asked, still cautious when discussing our parents directly. She's taken more hours at the library, and he hesitated. She's been asking about you. How you're doing, if you seem okay, if you ever mention them. Kevin stirred his coffee. I think reality is finally setting in that this isn't just a phase you're going through. It's not, I confirmed. This is permanent, unless some fundamental things change. I know. I told her that. He looked up. She asked me to give you this. He handed me an envelope, my name written in my mother's familiar handwriting. I took it cautiously, unsure whether I would open it at all. Later that night, alone in my apartment, curiosity overcame caution. I opened the envelope and unfolded 2 pages of stationery. Dear Rachel, it began. I don't know if you'll read this. For the first time, I've been trying to see things from your perspective. It's not comfortable. I don't like the mother I see through your eyes. Harold doesn't know I'm writing this. He's still angry, still blaming you for everything. I was too at first. It was easier than looking at my part in all this. The truth is, I've never been fair to you. I favored Kevin from the moment he was born. He was easier, happy, uncomplicated, satisfied with simple praise. You were always more intelligent, more perceptive, more demanding. You saw through empty words. You needed substance I wasn't equipped to provide. So I took the easy route. I poured my limited emotional resources into Kevin and left you to fend for yourself. Then I convinced myself you were fine that way, independent, self-sufficient. I told myself you didn't need the attention Kevin did. I was wrong. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not even asking for another chance. I just wanted you to know that I see it now. Too late. But I see it. The damage we did. The daughter we lost because we couldn't appreciate the remarkable woman she became. I hope you're well. I hope someday we might talk again, though I understand if that never happens. Mom. I read the letter 3 times, searching for the usual manipulations, the guilt trips, the subtle jabs. They weren't there. Instead, I found something I had never expected from my mother: accountability. Limited, belated, but real. I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I brought the letter to my next therapy session. This seems like a significant step for your mother, Dr. Collins observed. But remember, one letter doesn't erase years of behavior. If there's to be any reconciliation, it would need to be gradual, with clear boundaries and consistent change over time. I'm not sure I even want reconciliation, I admitted. Part of me feels lighter without them in my life. That's valid too. You're not obligated to rebuild relationships simply because you share DNA. The question is, what serves your well-being now and going forward? What served my well-being turned out to be continuing the separation while acknowledging my mother's letter with a brief, civil response. Mom, thank you for your letter. I appreciate the reflection it represents. I'm not ready for further communication at this time, but I wish you well in Arizona. Rachel. Short, neither warm nor cold, leaving the door neither fully closed nor wide open. It was all I could honestly offer. With Kevin, things continued to improve gradually. Our shared history created a bond that, while damaged, wasn't beyond repair. He had begun to see our childhood through clearer eyes, recognizing the ways he had been weaponized against me and family dynamics neither of us had created. "I was thinking about that science fair in 7th grade," he said during one of our meetings. "When you built that amazing solar system model with the working lights, and Dad made such a big deal about my participation ribbon in the track meet that fell on the same day." "I remember," I said, surprised he did too. "You spent weeks on that model. It was incredible. Should have won first place, not third. And all anyone talked about at dinner was my stupid ribbon." He shook his head. "I knew it was wrong even then, alright. I just didn't say anything because, well, it felt good to be the favorite. You were a kid, Kevin. Neither of us created that dynamic." "No, but I benefited from it, and now I'm trying to figure out who I am without it." He gave a wry smile. "Turns out, the golden child identity doesn't prepare you very well for actual adulthood." Professionally, the aftermath of the Thanksgiving incident had eventually stabilized. The viral grocery store confrontation had faded. Jennifer had proven to be an unexpected ally, shielding me from potential professional fallout and even recommending me for a prestigious financial advising certification program. "Your ability to maintain excellent work while handling personal challenges shows exactly the kind of resilience our top clients need in an advisor," she told me. "Emotions and finances are always intertwined. Someone who understands that connection firsthand has an advantage." As spring advanced, I created new traditions and connections: Sunday brunches with Amber and our friends, volunteer work, a tentative first date with Michael, a kind-eyed architect I met through the volunteer program. One unseasonably warm Saturday in late April, I was returning from a morning run when I spotted a familiar figure waiting near my apartment building, my father, looking older and somewhat diminished in the bright sunlight. My step slowed as I approached cautiously. "Dad." He turned, clearly nervous, hands shoved deep in his pockets. "Rachel, I wasn't sure you'd talk to me." "That depends on what you want to say." He nodded, accepting the conditional nature of the conversation. "I won't take much of your time. Before we leave for Arizona, I needed to say something in person." He took a deep breath. "You were right about a lot of things. I wasn't fair to you. I didn't appreciate what you did for us." The admission, so long awaited, felt strangely anticlimactic. "Thank you for saying that." "I'm not good at this," he continued, staring at the sidewalk, admitting when I'm wrong. "Your mother always said it was my worst quality." A ghost of a smile crossed his face. "One of many, according to her these days." "Arizona is a fresh start," I offered neutrally. "Yes. At my age." He shook his head. "Starting over at 61 wasn't in the plan." "Plans change. We adapt." He looked up then, really seeing me, perhaps for the first time in years. "You turned out well, Rachel. Strong. Smart. That wasn't because of us. It was despite us. I want you to know I recognize that." The words unlocked something in my chest, not forgiveness exactly, but a releasing of something tightly held. "I appreciate that, Dad." We stood in awkward silence for a moment before he spoke again. "We're leaving next week. Your mother has the address. If you ever want to, well, it's there if you need it." "Safe travels," I said, not committing to more. He nodded, understanding the boundary. "Take care of yourself, Rachel." "I am," I replied, for the first time in a long time. "I really am." As he walked away, I felt no dramatic surge of emotion, no cinematic reconciliation, no profound catharsis, just a quiet acknowledgement that sometimes healing doesn't look like complete restoration. Sometimes it's just about reaching a place where the past no longer dictates the future. That evening, I hosted dinner for Amber, Kevin, and a few close friends. As we gathered around my table, the same one where Thanksgiving had imploded 4 months earlier, I looked at the faces of these people who chose to be in my life, who valued me as I was, who expected nothing beyond mutual respect and genuine connection. "What are you smiling about?" Amber asked, passing me a basket of bread. "Just thinking about conditional versus unconditional love," I replied. All my life, I thought family love was supposed to be unconditional. But it came with so many conditions I could never meet. And here, with friends, where we could walk away at any time, this feels more unconditional than anything I grew up with. Kevin raised his glass to finding the right conditions to thrive and the courage to create them when necessary. As our glasses clinked together, I realized that the family I had lost had never really existed except in my desperate hopes and futile efforts. What I had found instead, self-respect, true friendship, honest connection, and yes, even a cautiously healing relationship with my brother, was real, solid, and mine to keep. The journey hadn't been easy. The $28,800 I had spent supporting my parents might never be repaid. The emotional cost had been higher still. But as I looked around at my chosen family, I knew with absolute certainty it had been worth every penny. Have you ever had to make a difficult choice between supporting family and protecting your own well-being? What boundaries have you set in your relationships? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video if it resonated with you, subscribe for more stories of personal growth through difficult situations, and share with someone who might need to hear that it's okay to choose yourself sometimes. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember, true family supports your wings, not clips them. Video Deep Research Canvas Gemini can make mistakes, so double check it.